and welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of KittyCatGO Live, where we discuss various topics related to cat adventure, training, travel, and enrichment. I'm your host, Emily Hall, and tonight we're talking about catification, what it is, why it's important, and how to do it. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about how to turn your home into a cat's paradise. If you're watching with us tonight or on the replay, be sure to say hello in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Questions are encouraged along the way as well. Our special guest for the evening is Kate Benjamin. Kate has been writing about cats and design since 2007. She is the founder of Hauspanther, a lifestyle brand for design-conscious cat lovers. She designs and manufactures handmade cat toys, beds, and other cat products at her studio in Phoenix, Arizona. You may have seen her guest appearances on Jackson Galaxy's show, My Cat from Hell, where she helped catify homes to satisfy both cats and their guardians. Kate and Jackson co-authored 2 New York Times bestsellers, Catification and Catify to Satisfy, the ultimate guides to designing a cat-friendly home. Kate now travels the country with Greater Good Charity's Cat Positive 360 program, teaching animal welfare organizations how catification can help reduce stress and improve quality of life for cats during their stay at a shelter or rescue. Let's go ahead and bring Kate on.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here. This is so awesome. I have been a catification fan of yours for, well, since the blog pause days. And
oh, yay.
Yeah, so it's super great to have you here. I know, most people who have cats, I would say, are interested in making their cat or their homes cat friendly. So I look forward to hearing what you have to share with us tonight.
Great. Excellent. My favorite topic.
Well, first, tell us a little bit about yourself and your cats. I know everyone always likes to hear about the kitties behind the person.
Oh, sure. Well, there's one hiding back here. That's Margot in this little cubby. And you might see several others wandering through. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my husband, and we currently have 11 cats in 1,100 square feet. So it's kind of like a working laboratory of catification where I get to try all sorts of things and kind of demonstrate that if you catify, you can actually make room for plenty of cats. 11 is a lot. I wouldn't recommend it, but for the average consumer, but you can do it. And everybody asks, do they all get along? And the answer is not always. But what we've done is we've really created an environment that is targeted at reducing stress, giving everyone helping them live their best lives, really. So that's kind of the goal of catification. So I'm not a behaviorist. I'm not a vet. I'm a designer who lives with a lot of cats and has been working with behaviorists for a really long time to kind of figure out what do cats need and how do we make that look nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's so impressive that you have 11 cats in 1,100 square feet of space. I have my husband and I have 7 cats, and our house is about 1,700 square feet, and it's pretty tight quarters sometimes,
Yeah. Well, it's just, one story, but there's so many levels of catification, which is like one of the main important things you need to do. The cats have all sorts of different places they can go and hide and hang out and not conflict with each other is really the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how did you get into this? How did you get into design and catification? And you also have your company, Hauspanther. How did all of that come to be?
So I actually have my undergraduate degree is in interior design and environmental analysis. So I had a background really in understanding, 3-dimensional space and how things function, ergonomics, sort of space planning. But I didn't really do anything with that degree. I just went right into marketing. I eventually went to graduate school for visual communication design. And then I wound up working in the children's product industry. And it was right around that time that I got my first cat as an adult. And so, being in design school, I was, of course, on the lookout for good looking, well designed products. And for me, I define well designed not just as aesthetically pleasing, but is it functional? Like, does it really serve a purpose? Does it make your life better? Does it work for everybody? In this case, a lot of cat products have to work for the cat, but you also have to consider the human needs too, right? So the person has to buy it and live with it and clean it and deal with it. So you have sort of two user groups. So I came out of this design background, and then I started getting cats, and I was working for Boone Inc., which is a modern children's product company. And they were really kind of changing the face of children's products. This was back in like the early 2000s. And they were basically saying, just because you have kids, it doesn't mean your house has to look like a daycare center. And so I kind of said, well, wait a minute, how come nobody's doing that for cats? There was some sort of dog related design content out there and some better products, but everything for cats was kind of, covered in beige carpet. So I started looking around for companies that were doing innovative, beautiful cat products, and I started blogging about them in 2007. So that was way back in the blog pause days.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to the children's product industry, right? Because same thing, you have two user groups, you have the children and the parents. And it was this kind of move towards, I don't want my house to look like the crazy cat lady, right? Like the stereotype. So let's find things that are better looking, that really make your home a beautiful place that you want to invite guests into. So, and the blog took off. I got a lot of attention, media attention, New York Times, USA Today, CBS Sunday Morning sent a film crew to my house because nobody was really, that was way back, 2000, I don't know, 8, 9. And so, it was just sort of a perfect storm. Like, that's what the pet product industry was looking for. HGTV being really new and big, and everybody's paying attention to their homes, that kind of thing. So it took off from there, and then along comes this show on television, My Cat from Hell, and this guy, Jackson Galaxy, somebody sent me a link to it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. This guy's going to change the world for cats and cat people. And so turns out he had been a fan of my blog, and he had been trying to hunt me down because he was like, we have to work together. And so when we finally talked, he was like, look, here's the deal. I go into people's houses, I tell them what they need to do, but I don't know how to tell them how to make it look good. And so they tell me no. And so we started working together. He brought me in on the show on several episodes. We wrote the books. And then in all that time, I had been making handmade cat toys at my studio here in Phoenix. My original blog was moderncat.net. I rebranded to Hauspanther in 2012, and kind of just went from there. I also partnered with Primetime Pets, a company in Texas, and I created a line of cat furniture that was all branded under Hauspanther, a line of toys, things like that are sold all over the country. And it's just kind of one thing after another. It's like, okay, what can I do next? What will help move this industry forward? And honestly, I've seen such a change in the cat product industry since I started this. It's wonderful. It's exactly what I wanted to see happen, is like the big manufacturers stood up and took notice. They were like, oh, this is what people want. Okay, great. We'll give it to you. So they started making beautiful, functional, and now affordable products. Because when I first started writing, I was writing about, $7,000 cat trees from Germany. Yeah. So, and those still exist. And I'm fascinated by all of it. I think everything is a great example. But now there's just so many resources. You can go online. So this was all, I started all this before social media was a thing. So now people just share ideas, and you can search and find pretty much anything you're looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is amazing to look back at how things were just 10, 15, 20 years ago versus today. It really has come a long way, like cat shelves aren't a weird thing that only crazy cat ladies have, right? They're like more
Right.
commonplace, and it's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just so many different takes on catification.
Mhm.
You can really, like, celebrate cat like, this behind me here, this is all from my zoo. That I mean, that's definitely unusual, right? It's places for cats to climb and scratch and hide and things like that. Or you can make it completely seamless. Like, you could just design cat shelves in that until a cat walks across that shelf, you wouldn't even know that it was a
Mhm.
cat shelf. So, there are lots of examples of both styles now, and people can do whatever they'd like.
Yeah, choices, right? Like I remember
Yeah.
even when my husband and I first, because we have a wall in our living room that has like shelves and beds and stuff mounted on the wall, and we've had it, I don't know, we've had it several years now, but even then when we started that cat wall, there weren't that many companies that offered those pieces. And now, you have your choice of companies and aesthetic styles and
Yeah.
everything like that. It's really awesome.
Yeah, so many great things.
Yeah, yeah. So, we've mentioned the term catify and catification a few times already, and you have written two books about it with Jackson Galaxy. Can you explain a little bit about what is catification? What does it mean?
Sure. So the world of environmental enrichment and cat behavior has been around for decades, right? Lots of behaviorists have written about it. And it was really from the perspective of what do the cats need? I mean, that makes sense. There have been research studies, things, what do cats need, indoor cats, to live their best life? What they weren't really considering is the people side, right? So
Mm.
catification is our kind of brand of environmental enrichment that is the sweet spot between what do the cats need and what do the people need. And that's kind of a result of Jackson and me coming together, so a designer and a cat behaviorist. And nobody had really kind of approached it that way before. And it was because exactly what he was saying, where he couldn't get people to do what he wanted them to do because they thought it was going to look awful. And so that is kind of the take on it. It's really this consideration of both users, the cats and the humans, with this eye to, not looking like the crazy cat lady, kind of busting that stereotype.
Yeah. So, why would you say that catification is important for cats? What does it meet specific needs? What why is it important? Why should people catify their home? Uh-oh. I think you might be frozen.
Skin is, oh, yeah. Oh, there
Oh,
we go.
there
Are you
you
back?
are. Okay. Can you start over whatever you
Okay. Yes. I froze too. You froze too. Okay. All right, we're back. So, the thing that kind of gets under my skin is when I hear people say, "Oh, it's just a cat. They don't need anything. They're independent. They take care of themselves." I got a cat because I wanted something that was really low maintenance, right?
Mhm.
Well, okay, yeah, the cat will survive, but is that what you want, or do you want them to thrive and live their best life and really be a valued family member? And in order to do that, for an indoor only cat, which is what I recommend. I mean, adventure cats are good when they're on a harness, on a leash, in a controlled environment, that kind of thing. But like all my cats stay in, and they need that enrichment. So, in order for them to have both physical and mental stimulation, they need an environment that provides a number of things, which we cover in catification. And that will help reduce their stress. So some cats, when they're stressed out, right, might hide, they might act out, they might have behavior issues, right? And those things can be alleviated with the design of the environment.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are so many ways that you can meet those needs, right? I mean, it's not just providing hidey holes or walls on the cat shelf, right? There are so many different aspects of how you can catify your home. And on your website on Hauspanther, you have 7 categories that you I guess have products and information about. And it was play, climb,
Mhm.
scratch, dine, rest, litter, and travel. So can you go into a little bit of detail about why these different aspects of catification, I guess, are important. Why are they the 7 ones that you focused on?
Yeah, that's kind of your enrichment or catification checklist right there. So climbing is really the thing that people think about first when they think about catification, and it is one of the most important. And the reason is it all comes out of the cat behavior literature that a cat will prefer, most cats prefer to be up high in an environment because it gives them a better view of their surroundings, right? Because cats are both predator and prey. They need to know kind of what's going on around them, what can I get and what's going to get me. So being up high gives them that really better advantage. And that doesn't mean up high, like this little hideaway right here and these shelves, these are down low, right? So it doesn't just mean up over your head. Vertical space means anywhere off the ground. So climbing in the vertical world, hiding or a safe space. Instead of hiding, you kind of want to make sure that your cat has a safe space to retreat to. And there are also research studies from some of the shelter medicine research groups, like at UC Davis, who have looked into, with shelter cats, the reduction of stress when a cat is provided with a safe space that is enclosed or semi-enclosed. So like, again, these things behind me, they kind of, a cat will prefer to retreat to a hiding space. And that kind of falls under I put it under the rest category in catification. So it's like the place that they feel comfortable, warm, safe. And that, if you don't give them a space, they're going to find their own, right? They're going to hide under the bed, in the back of the closet, in the litter box, in shelter situations, and wedged under something where you don't want them. So you need to provide them with this comfortable spot in an area that's acceptable to both of you. And if it's a very scared cat, you might try moving a cocoon, something like the cat ball or some sort of enclosed hideaway, moving it little by little so that when they're in it, they are more part of the family. They're more integrated in, like, where you're sitting in the living room or watching TV or something, and they're not hiding away, because that's not ideal. So climbing, resting, hiding, soft things also go with resting, like cushions, anything that cats can leave their scent on. That also kind of spills over into scratching, because scratching is not just about grooming their claws, it's about leaving a scent mark. Leaving a cat's scent, their own scent, will help reduce their stress and make them feel more at home, more territorial ownership, more at ease. So scratching, scent marking, all these things kind of cross over. Then you do need sufficient resources. So in order for a cat to feel like they don't have to be stressed out, that they have food, water, resources include litter as well, and prime napping spots, prime climbing spots, all those things. So in a multi-cat household, all the cats need to feel like, hey, I'm not being left out. I have everything I need. So I'm always looking for ways to add water fountains, different cool water features throughout the house, as well as, what type of feeder are the cats eating out? Is it ergonomically correct? Is it a raised feeder? Is it made of the right materials? Those kinds of things. And then does it fit your aesthetic as well? Then you have the whole litter category, which is, of course, the bane of every cat owner's existence, right? But
yes,
you have to
so important.
It's so important. And if it's not done right, it really can lead to behavior issues and the cat not living their best life. So this is a great category that is an example of, it has to work for both the cat and the human, right? Because you have to clean it and you have to live next to it and all of this. So you have to think about putting your litter box, like location is everything, right? Not down in the basement where you will never go to scoop it, because then the cat will not have the clean litter box that they need. So all of those things around litter. Is it organized in such a way that it makes it really easy for you to grab the scoop, grab a bag, fill up the clean litter, that kind of stuff, easy to sweep up around? Do you have everything you need? And then, of course, travel. I mean, even if you don't have a travel cat, you have to take your cat to the vet occasionally, or maybe on a trip or something. And there are so many great travel products out there, from carriers to leashes and harnesses and calming travel related items, things like that. So that's kind of like, it's kind of my worldview, and just always thinking about all of these things that cats need and then testing them with my group that I have here.
And you have quite the assortment of testers too.
Yes, yes. We have all kinds.
Yeah.
Cooperative and less cooperative.
Well, then, your opinion probably matters a lot, because you have so many. It's not like you only have one cat you have to please,
Right. And they're all different, right? They're all so unique.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So for someone who is just starting to think about how to catify their home, what advice would you give someone, or some easy ways that someone can begin the catification process?
Well, the easiest thing is to look at what you already have and to be open to maybe moving some furniture around. Um, if you want to start thinking about giving your cat a place to climb, we define the cat superhighway as a path that lets a cat walk all the way around the room without touching the floor. That's sometimes, you don't have to aim for the entire thing right off the bat, but like, what if you were able to clear off a shelf that has, knickknacks on it, and then add a non-slip surface and or a bed or something, and now say, okay, this is a cat destination, and move a cat tree over so it's easy for your cat to get up and down onto the shelf or the top of the bookshelf, or maybe like you have a pot shelf or the top of the kitchen cabinets or something. Just really kind of think like a cat. Where might they like to go? And then make it easy for them. So by moving things, adding a shelf here, a shelf there, a cat tree, something like that. And this super highway could be like across the back of the sofa, over to this chair, up to this shelf, up this cat tree, and then over to the top of the bookcase. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars. But just kind of make it easy for them to make jumps. Adding those non-slip surfaces is really important for safety, especially for older cats. Don't make the jumps too high. Just kind of eye level. Like if a cat is standing up, think about their distance to the next level so that they can sort of see what's on the next shelf. Yes, cats can jump 4 or 5 feet in the air, but you don't want to have to make them do that, especially if they're already up high, so you want to make it safe, and then just look for things that might be used as a cozy little hideaway. So this is where DIY stuff comes in. Like the easiest DIY is just repurposing something that wasn't meant for a cat to use, and you say, well, I'm going to change this up and let my cat use it. So maybe just a decorative basket with a soft blanket or a cushion in it, and now put that somewhere where the cat feels comfortable in it and can use it as their sort of safe space, or the place where they're going to leave their scent. It's near you. If it's a cat that maybe does try to hide under the bed, try to create these spaces that are more acceptable and that will pull them out. So you can just start by working with what you have. Ideally, if you have a window and can set up a nice, comfortable spot inside for your cat to look outside, maybe put a bird feeder outside or some interesting plants or something that will attract wildlife. But always have to say, you just have to make sure that they have plenty of actual toys, physical toys inside, so then they can act out that hunting instinct. Because when they're watching what we call cat TV, which is the cat looking out the window, they could get frustrated if they can't then go like bite a kicker. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love the cat superhighway idea, and using the things that you already have in your home, because I know, like I mentioned, my husband and I have the shelves on the cat wall, and we've added onto it, over time. And so if you add up the amount of money we've spent on all of those pieces over time, it's not cheap. And so that can be kind of daunting for some people, like, oh, I can't catify my house. I don't have a bunch of money that I can spend on cat shelves. But you don't have to, right? You can use your couch and your bookshelf and scratchers and things like that.
Or, I mean, you can get creative. If you have an IKEA in your area, or you can order it online. There is a shelf at IKEA that is $3, and it's a
Mhm.
good size. And then they have shelf brackets that are $1 each. And so
Mhm.
for $5, you can get this really great little shelf. And then they have in the door, in the like the rug section, there's a doormat that I think is $1.75 or $2. And if you cut that in half, which it's really thin, you can cut it with scissors and stick it down. It actually fits that shelf perfectly. These are all I'm always obsessed with, like IKEA hacks, catification IKEA hacks. Like, what can we repurpose? And so if you just need a really inexpensive little shelf, they have great stuff. Or any home improvement store. I mean, really, you can build a shelf out of anything you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's or at the hardware
Mhm.
store. So it doesn't have to be a cat shelf. You just have to make a few modifications in terms of making it sturdy enough, adding a non-slip surface. But then you could go even further and add like a hanging toy underneath, or make it a ramp, something like that. It's just sort of a matter of thinking creatively.
Yeah, one of our newest additions to our cat wall, I saw it on Instagram. I can't remember which account it was that I saw it on, but somebody had bought just like a cheap carpet runner that you would put in a hallway, and then they stapled it to the wall. And so it's like a climbing surface. The cat can climb up the wall. And so I spent like
Yeah,
$15 on Amazon for a long carpet runner and stapled it to my
awesome.
wall.
I love it. I love it. And if you don't like, if you want to make it a little fancier, you could add trim to it or something, or yeah, that I love. There's so many great ideas that people are doing out on social media. Anything you want, you can think of. Somebody can tell you how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've mentioned some of these DIY ideas. Do you have any more fun DIY catification hacks?
One of my favorite things is to go to a thrift store and just find something and like basically turn it on its head and like look at it differently. So there's one, I think it's in the second book in Catify to Satisfy. I found this shelf at a thrift store, and it was like it had ends on it. It was just like a whole shelf unit, not just a flat shelf. But I
Mhm.
literally turned it sideways, and I think I wrapped a bunch of like the sides of it with rope, with sisal rope. And so now it's a scratcher, but it had like a platform on top. So now you have this little like raised bed, and then there was a space underneath, and I hung like a dangling toy. So with like simple materials, a glue gun is going to get you pretty far. Lots of rope, some carpet tiles, things like that. Uh, you can, for like maybe $10, you could create something like that. I mean, the rope's going to get a little bit more expensive, but you might have something lying around that you can repurpose. Old rope off of something else. Um,
Mhm.
in a way that looks good still. That's kind of the goal, is that when things become worn out, sometimes you have to give them a little bit of a facelift. So I'm always kind of looking at like, well, what can we do? How can we change it up?
Yeah. So now I'm picturing you having your own show on HGTV where you go to thrift stores and repurpose things that you find into
I
catification
would love that.
items.
Yes, I think maybe forget HGTV. I think I should just do it on YouTube. I just have to
There
like
you go.
get
Yeah.
myself down there. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, that is like my favorite thing, and so the fact that I get to do that for a living is just really fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So what are a couple of your favorite catification products right now?
Ooh, so there's this new thing. I have one right here. Wait, I turned it the wrong way. Let's see there. Okay. This just launched yesterday on Kickstarter. It's the Desk Nest. So
Ooh.
yes. So instead of having your cat sit on your keyboard,
Yes.
you can clamp this onto your desk in any location, and it raises and lowers, it rotates. I think it's gorgeous. It comes in with a wood veneer. I'm friends with the person who invented it, and I know that they're like a really good company. So they've already funded. and they have some good deals right now. So that is, I mean, he's like such an inventor, the way his mind works. He saw the problem, which is, your cat walking on your lap and sitting on your desk and messing everything up. And this is a great solution for that. And I just think it's really aesthetically pleasing. So I've had this sample now for a little while because I took some photos for him, and the cats love it. There's almost always somebody in it, like not at the moment, but
Yeah.
they love it. Yeah, and it has a nice thick cushion in it. So that's like things like that show up that you're really like, oh my gosh, this is like, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah.
There've been so many of those over the years. One that I used to have, but I haven't seen them in a while, was the cat crib. It was a hammock that had these Velcro straps, and you could attach it under any chair with 4 legs.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
I
that?
have seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah. That I haven't seen the original one in a while. I don't know if there's some others, if they might have gotten knocked off, but I think it's brilliant, a brilliant idea. It's also something you could probably create yourself too, but that kind of takes care of, a couple different things. It gives the cat like a cozy hideaway, but it's out near where you want to be hanging out, right? So if you put it in a chair, like maybe in your dining room or something, and it's a soft material, so it gathers the cat's scent. I mean, just things like, oh my gosh, wow, that's brilliant. There's just so many good things. I just love design. I love all the cat stuff.
Yeah, what I love about so many of these products is like they're not complicated, right?
Yeah,
They're so simple but so ingenious. Like the cat bed thing you were just showing us. I mean, I've seen some products for that, but they're usually beds that are meant to sit on your desk, and then that
yeah.
takes up so much space on your desk. And so I've never gotten one because I'm like, well, my desk space is like limited. I don't have room for a bed on my desk. And that all it does is just raise it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and but it looks really cool, it's
Yeah.
functional. Yeah, that I also, I mean, we just redid the living room with a lot of Catastrophic Creations. Do you have
Mm.
any of their stuff?
Yeah,
That
that's
is,
who our cat wall stuff
oh,
is.
good.
Creations, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's that one, and Catscapes, and there are a number of different systems that are modular systems. So
Mhm.
what's great about that is that you could just hang up a couple of things to start, see what
Mhm.
your cat likes, see if you want to change it, and then keep adding to it, which it sounds like that's what you
Yeah,
did,
that's what
right?
we've done,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they keep adding new things. Like last year, Catastrophic Creations added that the scratching pole that goes at an angle, or the
Mhm.
big long one that goes all the way across. So they just keep coming up with really cool, fun things. The clear hammocks, right? So they have
Ooh.
the fabric hammock that attaches between the two posts. They have some that are made of clear vinyl, which isn't for every cat because some cats won't want to walk on it. But
Yeah.
if you have like a cat that doesn't care, you're gonna get some great toe bean photos off of
Yeah,
that.
right?
So
That's awesome. So I mentioned when I read your bio that you work for Greater Good Charities, taking your catification expertise to shelters. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this is a fun project that started last year. It's called Cat Positive 360, and it's part of the Jackson Galaxy Project, which is part of Greater Good Charities. And basically, Jackson and I and some other team members go around the country, and we have a host shelter who, for 2 days, invites in representatives from all the different shelters and rescues in the area. And we basically go over kind of everything you need to think about when you have cats in a shelter situation. So I help teach the catification piece, where we're really looking at, it's a little bit, it's different, it's still environmental enrichment, but there are a lot of different factors in a shelter versus in a home, right? Because in a home, you have a set population, and cats have time to acclimate, and it's not, there's not as much turnover. It's also, things need to be less durable in a residential situation. But in a shelter, you've got to really learn how to put stuff in that is really bulletproof and can be sanitized. And gets a cat almost immediately acclimated to that environment, right? So in order to reduce their stress, because cats are already coming into a shelter situation, are going to be incredibly stressed out. And so you need to get them into an environment that helps reduce their stress as quickly as possible in order to reduce behavior issues, reduce health issues, get them adopted as fast as possible. And, really, if they're in a really lovely environment, something kind of like the way cat cafes
Mhm.
are structured, if it's really well designed, then it shows potential adopters what they can do at home, right? So they're sitting in the cat cafe or the shelter and they're looking around and they're going, oh, that's a cool shelf. I know right where I could put that at home. And then they adopt a cat, they go home, they catify, everybody's happy. So we teach that, and Cat Positive 360 also talks about just lots of other things about intake and working with potential adopters, and just things you need to understand about cat behavior in a shelter situation, and sort of the mechanics of dealing with cats in shelters, because dogs have typically gotten a lot of the attention and cats haven't in the past gotten as much. But there's a ton of really great research, like I mentioned before, out of different programs, like the UC Davis shelter medicine program has really looked at the impact of environmental enrichment on cats in shelter situations. And there are a lot of things that can be pointed to and say, if you just do this, if you just give them a place to feel, cozy and hidden, and you give them a place to climb, it can have a dramatic impact on their stress in the shelter. So that's really rewarding. I feel like working on the shelter side is a little more challenging in terms of design, but it impacts so many people and so many cats, because of the huge numbers of cats we have in shelters and that are being adopted, which is great. So I think there's been a lot of change. Cat cafes tend to have either a relationship with a shelter or an influence, kind of like there's this kind of crossover. Like, we have to understand that a shelter situation, a shelter environment needs to be inviting to the public, right? It needs to actually have a place for people to sit, and it needs to look a certain way because it's giving an image, a brand image of that organization. So those are just some kinds of the things where, it's our take on environmental enrichment for cats, but with this nod to that the people are part of the situation too, and it matters what it looks like and how it functions. So.
Yeah, and I love that you're taking this to the shelters, because as you mentioned, so many cats come into the shelters and they're stressed and they're scared, and those scared cats that are hiding in the corner are going to be, their chances of being adopted are so low because the people aren't going to meet them because they're hiding and they're scared. And so when you guys are coming in and helping a shelter figure out how to catify their space and make the cats feel safer and more confident, then not only is it giving them, a fun environment, but it's also potentially helping cats get adopted faster because they're going to feel safer. They're going to be more confident. They're going to come out and meet people instead of stay hidden away.
Exactly. And then their personalities really, you can shine. You can see,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we have an outgoing cat, we have a loving cat, these kinds of things, rather than, because when they're just shut down and stressed, then they're, you just can't even interact with them. So it's such an important thing. And environmental enrichment, again, has been studied for years, but there's this extra opportunity to make the shelter or the cat cafe, you know, look really cool, because that inspires people. You don't want someone to walk in and have it look like a crazy cat lady explosion has happened, right? And be like, oh, if I adopt a cat, is this what my house is going to have to look like? So it's just breaking down sort of stereotypes and kind of encouraging this new generation of cat ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, educating the people, because like you mentioned earlier in the episode, that there's still a lot of belief out there that cats are low maintenance pets. They don't need as much, but if somebody comes into the shelter and they see all this, all the vertical space and it looks nice, and the shelter can take that opportunity to teach, them how to make their home inviting and safe and enriching for their cat, because so many common behavior issues that cats have in homes, not just in the shelter, but also in homes, are as a result of their needs not being met. Yep. And so if you can, head that off at adoption, then hopefully the shelter surrender rate will decrease as well, because people will be meeting their cat's needs at home and not run into those behavior issues that they then want to surrender their cat for later,
Exactly. It's all about education and just really preparing that adopter, especially a first-time cat adopter, but it could be somebody who's had cats before and just never had to deal with issues, or they weren't aware of these things that could actually make their cats' lives even better. So I think that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always learning, always learning. Well, this has been great, Kate. Thank you so much. Yeah. I like to think that I know a thing or two about catification, but I still learned some things from you tonight. Now my head is, running with ideas of what else can I do?
Cool. I love it. I want to see.
Yes. So yeah, thank you. For those that are watching, if you have any final questions for Kate, please drop them in the comments and we will be sure to answer those for you. But for now, go ahead and mark your calendars for the next episode. Oops. For the next episode of KittyCatGO Live, which will be Wednesday, May 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking with cat behaviorist Michael Delgado, who just came out with a book called Play with Your Cat. And it's all about, the science of play with your cat, because believe it or not, there is some science behind it. And she's going to share her tips on how to enrich your cat's life through play, which can make such a big difference. And for those wanting to follow Kate and all that she does, you can follow her at Hauspanther on Instagram or on her website, hauspanther.com. And that's Haus Panther. So
yep, Hauspanther everywhere, on Facebook, on TikTok, all over. So
awesome.
And if anybody does any great catification, please send me pictures. I love to see them, or tag me. I love to share them. Always looking for new ideas and cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, thanks again, Kate. This is awesome. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Well, that's it for tonight, everybody. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or the follow button if you're watching on Facebook, so you know what's happenings here at KittyCatGO. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and I hope you learned something new and had some fun. Happy adventuring, everybody.